All right, we're recording.
We're back.
We're back.
Was this episode 11?
This is episode 11, so we're well into double digits now. So this is a bit of a milestone for us.
Hey, Mom, I made it. Hey, Marianne, what's up? If you're listening, which if the indication of last week's podcast numbers is any indication, you're not. So please listen. Do it for your son. We made it. 11 episodes. Sticks.
Yeah, we're on the up actually because we got a total of 4 YouTube views when I last looked. So
watch out.
That's a 400% increase.
Next thing you know, we're going to be advertising Manscaped, or what's the other one that they always advertise? All the YouTubers, the secure, the VPNs.
Dude, Manscaped is everywhere right now. If you're listening to podcasts, yeah.
Hey, man. Well, if you are a product that is focusing on a listenership of bald men, right? If you've got like a bald man product, like a fucking scalp sheen,
like Rogaine or something.
Rogaine. Yeah, that's get at us. We're open for sponsorship opportunities if you're looking to reach 17 people a week.
Yeah, if it's regrowth of hair opportunities, though, not interested.
Yeah,
thank you. I'll stay
we
bald.
Don't want it. We want to remain in our position of power and our high sex appeal to the, well, I guess members of both sexes theoretically, right?
They're only human. All right.
So last week we touched on, basically getting to the point of why we chose to practice how we practice, as opposed to, I guess, riding that traditional chiropractic wave. You're somebody that owns your own business. I'm somebody that has practiced in an associate style, and now I've come to own my own business. So, right, it's like we found the light. We found the system in which we wanted to practice. We found a way that we can sustainably provide people results and get changes to the point where we could charge the types of fees that we were charging and still sleep soundly and fucking drool all over our pillows at night. Now, there are some individuals that do what we do and they look for a similar clinic, in the country, and they go and they're happily at those clinics. And for those individuals, I salute you. And, the world needs good associates too. But in order to have associates, right, the world needs quality business owners as well. And I guess just an interesting snapshot of our minds to try and figure out, why we decided to do what we did, risking our own necks. And Chris, when we were talking a little bit off camera about some of this stuff, you were telling me that, yeah, you're getting ready to be done with, chiropractic school. And you've got a lot of individuals in your class that are just happy and eating shit and wanting to just be associates in traditional subluxation based chiropractic clinics. So yeah, what led you to want to do this on your own?
Yeah, I was thinking about this before, and I don't think it was so much that I really wanted to be a business owner as such. It was more that I realized that I just fucking hated working for other people because I did that for so long. And so what appealed to me was really, I think, just to be true to myself and to be able to do things my way, which sounds a bit sort of egotistical, but
we love the ego on this podcast. Don't fucking shy away from that ego, Chris. You knew in your heart of hearts that you had a way you wanted shit done. And you knew the only way to get shit done, the way you wanted to get shit done, was to fucking do it yourself. So I applaud your rational use of your ego.
Well, here it is. I think there's so much wrapped up in this whole thing for me because I've put 5 years of my life into making this work. But apart from me, there's so many people that have backed me to do this and have helped along the way. And, doing this in your 30s, you don't necessarily get more opportunities. So you have to make it work. It has to be done right. And I think it has to be done in a way where there's no regrets. So for me, I really had some strong opinions and stuff that, you know, that we've kind of been through in the last episode. But I think it would be a shame to not see that through and to not do it that way. And it just wouldn't be fulfilling to go and kind of snap into someone else's ways of doing things and their opinions. And so, yeah, it was just, I guess it was for me an easy decision because I had to see that through.
Yeah. And even in an instant where you're practicing with somebody who has, you know, similar respect for facts and principles and everything like that, you know, somebody who's practicing the same style as you practice, you're still going to be presented with opportunities where you've got to do things in a way that you don't quite want to do them, right? Like, it's just the nature of not being the boss, right? Like, you're not fucking Tony Danza, you're not Bruce Springsteen, you know, like, you don't have that power, right? Tony Danza is the boss, Bruce Springsteen's the boss. I don't know if you guys are huge fans of Mr. Danza and Mr. Springsteen down under, but
you're showing your age now.
Showing my age now. I'm not even 30. I'm not even 30. Yeah, and the lesson that the manner in which you learned that lesson was a different way in which I learned that lesson. Right, I'm a little bit younger than you. I've made some dumb fucking decisions in terms of my employment. I've gone to places and been an associate in practices that didn't work out, and they didn't work out for, you know, a variety of reasons, and most of them were my own fault, right? I didn't help myself in any of the previous situations that I was in. You know, one practice really wanted what was best for me. It just didn't work out because I don't think I was a fucking dick by any means, but I was unwilling to do the work for the practice that the practice needed. And I convinced myself that, oh, it's, you know, an inability to see things eye to eye. In reality, at that point in my life, I wasn't aware enough to understand that I just was not meant to work for anybody. And the second practice, they were doing things in a manner that was just, I was just largely uncomfortable with. And again, you know, I was fucking unemployable, really. I had a great skill set. I had a great resume. You know, I would get any job that I needed. But at the end of the day, once the, I guess, it's like when you bring somebody home from a bar and you're drunk, like you wake up that next morning, like once that drunkenness wears off and you're up the next morning and you see what you've, well, for quite literally gotten yourself into,
yeah,
it wears off.
We call that the chew your own arm off.
The chew your own arm off? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you chew your own arm off to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah. Oh. Well, it's already numb, right? It's already numb, so you just hack that sucker off and get the hell out of there. But yeah, I learned the same thing that you learned, just in a different way, is that I have a particular way that I wanted to do things. I have a vision. I have an understanding of what's right and what's wrong. And nobody's going to share that understanding with me to the extent that I'm going to share that understanding with me. And it was just one of those things where at one point in my life, I had to just make that decision. And as soon as I made that decision, as soon as that first penny came in, and it was fucking because of me, I was like, I'm at home. I'm here. Like, you talk about how you just didn't want to work for somebody and you weren't necessarily like an entrepreneurial savant. Like, for me, as soon as that first dollar came in, I was like you. I was like, I just don't want to work for anybody. As soon as that first dollar came in, I was like, this is what my life is meant to be, is to provide a service to people that's so valuable, that's so important, that I can make a living off of this. So yeah, I think anybody who's a business owner arrives at that conclusion in one way or another, whether you're 45 or 55 or 25, or, you know, you're the 18-year-old kid that, you know, fucking starts a drop shipping business in their mom's basement. So that drive may not be there for you yet, but once it's awakened, you're going to be like, everything in my life makes so much more sense.
Yeah, I had the experience of working in really big teams for a long time. So in my previous career, and like big companies, big teams, and I was okay with that for a long time because it was very passive in nature. You just really needed to show up, do your job and go home kind of thing. And so, that works for a long time. But I actually realized towards the end of that, I didn't enjoy those big groups anymore. I think, I don't know, maybe I was just sort of growing up a bit, becoming a bit of an angry old man. But I didn't really like that. I didn't like being put in situations where we have to do like group activities and team building and sit around and sing
trust
Kumbaya.
falls.
Yes.
Let's stress everybody. Okay, write down 5 things that you want to do for next week and share it with your partner.
Yeah, I found that like so cringy. But yeah, just that whole thing of, I think also just sort of feeling like you don't have a lot in common with the people that you're spending a lot of time with. If it's 8, 9, 10 hours a day for 5 days a week, that's a lot of your life that you're spending in those groups. And so if you don't really vibe with that, that's just a shame, I guess. So I realized that big groups weren't good for me. As I, came down this path, and I was working as a massage therapist early on, and I had a couple of roles in smaller clinic environments that where I was employed as a contractor, and that was good. But I still had that feeling that, with respect to the way that clinic worked and to what they were doing, it still didn't align with, what my sort of thoughts for the future were and what I wanted to do. And so it still just didn't tick the boxes for me. And so, even though I was in that smaller group and that was helpful and I enjoyed that, it still just didn't feel like it was going to work. So I still had that scratch that needed to be itched. So yeah, I mean, I like you, I just really started to realize that I'm going to have to do this on my own if I want to do this and really tick those boxes for myself.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. And I think you and I share similar, I guess, life motifs to where, I'm just obsessed with freedom, right? Classic American, but not even in a sense of like liberty from fucking tyranny or anything like that, which I am obsessed with that because fuck yeah. But it's just, I want to control my own destiny, just because to me, there's nobody that's going to control my own destiny better than myself. I still have employment with a company at which I am an employee, but the nature of that company that I'm still with, it's we'll say I'll say the world's most successful online nutrition coaching company. What they've done a really, really wonderful job is giving autonomy to me. It's like I do what I want when I want, as long as I meet certain stipulations that are not ridiculous. Right. They're stipulations that are completely understandable. I'm fine. They cut me the check. I do the work and it's a beautiful damn thing. So it's to me, it's less ego. Well, I guess you could say it's egotistical to think that you know what's best for yourself in 100% of the situations, which I have a philosophical belief in that being true. But as long as you can allow me to express that desire to be free, like I'm going to be a happy camper, even in my relationship, right? Like I'm not an employee to Brianna, nor do I expect Brianna to be an employee to me. And I'm assuming it's the same thing in your relationship. Correct me if I'm wrong. So when people are like happy wife, happy life, I'm like, I don't think so. Like, yeah, I want Brianna, I want my fiance, I want my future wife to be happy because that's just what a good human being does. But I'm not sitting there with my thumb up my ass, like fucking sucking on a pacifier, doing everything I can to make her happy at the expense of my own happiness, because it's just bullshit. So, I'm here to be free and to serve my own happiness. And in serving my own happiness, I can be infinitely more equipped to serve other people's happiness. And that's what fucking freedom is to me.
Yeah, I'm lucky like that as well. I think my partner's given me a lot of freedom to be able to do this and to express these things that I think are important and that make me feel fulfilled. And that's not necessarily the best thing in terms of providing financially, at least at this stage. It's slow. It'd be better just to go and get a stable job and have an income coming in and make it easier. But I think I'm very lucky. She backs me and she wants us to do well, and she believes in the things that I think are important. So, that comes with a big responsibility. That's part of the reason why I think, at least for me, it's part of the reason why we do this stuff, because it just makes it better. It makes it better to share these things with other people and get other people's opinions. And, I think anything that we can do to be a little bit more successful, or just a little bit more self-assured, and make any gains that we can, we're getting closer to doing the right thing by the people that have backed us. So yeah, it's I feel it's a big responsibility. It's a big responsibility to the people that we want to help, that we take in, that we so we've got a responsibility to them to be sharpening our tool sets and doing the right things. But yeah, as entrepreneurs, it's a huge responsibility to fulfill that and do it the right way, and be successful for the people that are putting their faith in us, and backing us.
Yeah. And it's a responsibility that we want. It's like you're not portraying yourself as a martyr, right? You're somebody that is willingly shouldering the burden of having a skill set that can literally change the world, right? Like, fucking Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and all those guys. Like, those are the most massive entrepreneurs on the planet at this point. And it's, they willingly decided to bite off more than any person could possibly fathom and chew at the same time, in order to serve our lives in a way that is completely unique than it was before. And again, you're going to get somebody that says, well, I owned a small bookstore in Naperville, Illinois, and Amazon crushed my business. Well, you didn't necessarily rise to the challenge of that Amazon presented you as well. Or somebody that's making a gasoline car is going to say, well, Elon Musk didn't serve my life, but he served most people's lives. So that's it. Entrepreneurs, business owners, people who are willing to burden that responsibility, to risk their necks, are the individuals that create true progress in this world. And progress in this world independent of some, governmental municipality in which they can quote unquote legislate progress. That's all fun and games and it's great. But like, if you actually want to change the world, people vote more frequently with the money in their pockets than they do for the politicians in Washington, D.C. or where do the politicians go in Australia? Sydney?
No, it's actually in Canberra, which is not far from Sydney. It's about 3 hours.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Who the fuck ever heard of that?
It's a very cold place.
It's a very cold place. Yeah. So whatever, you get to vote for that shit once a year, right? The average citizen votes for that shit once a year. And again, I'm getting fucking philosophical because at this point in the podcast, my coffee kicks in and I can't fucking shut up. But you vote with your dollar every damn day. That's why, as much as you hate quote unquote cancel culture, or you're in favor of cancel culture, or whatever your opinions are of cancel culture, like, that shit works. As unfair or as fair as it is, that shit works because you're voting with your dollar. So if you don't want to buy any type of rice or maple syrup, or you don't want to get this type of bean or whatever the heck it is, then you're literally voting every time you choose a different product. So that's the beauty of business. That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. That's the beauty of capitalism, because you can affect change at a greater rate than any other system in the face of in the history of humanity.
So when you made this decision that you wanted to go down this path of
thanks for bringing me back on.
Yeah. When you decided to do this and you wanted to set up shop where you are now, so New York City, and you go through the thought process of, okay, it's probably the first thing a lot of people think of. What am I going to call the business? What's my branding going to look like? Let's get that out of the way. Where did you start? How did you arrive at Wildcard?
Oh gosh, this is a story that may have. Well, he's not listening. So in my first practice, there were two individuals that were co-owners of the practice, and they figured out a way to amicably split. So I'd moved 1,000 miles across the country to go enjoy this practice and be there. And, they had more or less had a meeting to decide what to do with me, right? Two owners and the associate. What do we do with the associate? We had him come out here and this is nothing, this situation is not what he expected. What do we do? And one of the individuals who in that split told the other individual that he wasn't sure about me, that I seemed to be kind of a wild card. And I was informed of that statement, and instead of turning it into something that I was super offended about, I was like, you know what? Fuck yeah, I am a wild card. That's it. I'm a wild card. My treatment's a wild card. You're coming in to get treated by me. I'm the 5th chiropractor you've seen in 10 years, and I'm going to present you with something a little bit different. Boom. That was the name. The logo, again, I just want it to be super, super simple. My fiance, her family comes from Naples. In Roman mythology, Naples is where you would get they're basically like Roman mermaids. They'd sing songs to you and they'd lure the sailors off the ships and then they'd kill them. I think sirens.
Yeah.
Sirens. Yeah. Siren. Beautiful. So I told my graphic designer, I was like, if you can work a fucking mermaid tail into this in any way, shape, or form possible, that'd be amazing. Did a nice job. Colors, I wanted to portray a mood of it being high end. So we went with colors that kind of were very vibrant and resembled royalty, for that matter. So you get like that kind of that blue and that yellow really, really pop and stand out. And then once I had that, it was game over. Like I just made decisions, and if they were stupid, then I went back on them, and that's it. Super easy. What about you?
Yeah, it's a cool story, actually. I think
It's
the
interesting.
wildcard thing. Every time you you refer to that, you've got that in the back of your mind. So that's a good story. It's not just opening up a dictionary and pulling out a word.
Yeah, it's like I grew up in Chicago in the '90s. Michael Jordan, huge, and it's like that guy would sit there and have freaking. If you said something wrong to Michael Jordan like 10 years ago, he was going to embarrass you on the basketball. He was going to remember that 10 years from now and embarrass you on the basketball court. And as ridiculous and egotistical as it is, it's just one of those things where that always stuck with me, where it's like if somebody wants to rag on me, I'm going to sit here and prove your ass wrong.
Yeah, I had a bit of a different story. It was actually back in, I think it was about the end of 2016. It was just as it wrapped up the first year of chiro school. And my buddy, Mark, we decided that we wanted to go and see great white sharks for real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a couple of places in Australia that you can do this, and one of them, apparently the best ones to go and do this is in South Australia. So it's right off the southern coast of Australia. And so we went to a place called Port Lincoln. So you got to catch a couple of planes across there, and then you hop on a boat, and it's I think it was 3 hours out on this boat to get out to a place called the Neptune Islands. They're these very sort of strange looking islands just in the middle of nowhere. And it's a sanctuary. So it's actually protected, and it's a great white haven. So we went out there, and they put these giant cages off the back of the boat. You chuck a wetsuit on and have some air and a regulator, and you hop down in this cage. I've never been colder in my life. It was like getting in an ice bath. But you do see some sharks. They swim around a little bit. I got ridiculously seasick. It was one of the worst experiences of my life because I was out there for 8 hours and I just felt like I wanted to die most of the time. So I'm never stepping on a boat ever again. Any type of boat, cruise ship, dinghy, it's all finished.
Canoe.
it's the worst feeling. So I did see a shark. It was, I guess, worth it, despite the seasickness. But anyway, we were talking on that trip because we stayed down there for a few days and we visited some CrossFit gyms and just made a bit of a trip out of it. And we were talking about this, what I was going to name the business, and we're just spitballing ideas around. And because we were so into our sharks at the time, one of the words that kept coming up was apex, as in the context of apex predator.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just kept that kept coming up, and it seemed to make sense because it had the connotation of like the tip of the spear, the top of the mountain. Yeah, I just liked it, and I liked the idea of soft tissue rather than, because at that stage I was just purely acting as a massage therapist. I hadn't sort of layered on these extra sort of layers now, but I didn't want to associate myself with that because it just had too many connotations of guys coming in and and asking for extras and stuff like that, which did happen, by the way, because not that actually happened, but I put ads out when you first start and you're trying to get business drummed up and things like that. And man, some of the phone calls that I would take from these guys asking for sensual services and stuff, it was just ridiculous. I had to take these ads down straight away.
Like code name for happy ending. They wanted to make sure that you weren't like an undercover police officer.
Yeah, they dance around it, making it pretty clear what they were looking for without really actually dropping the bomb. So that was frightening. But so that's why I stuck with the soft tissue part of it, because it also sat with what I was planning for the future. So I decided to lay that groundwork straight away and not have to change that. And it made it hard because people aren't looking for that. And, we've talked about that already. So it definitely didn't help at the start, but it's made a lot of sense now. So yeah, a little bit of forward planning and some seasickness on shark boats. So there you go.
It's amazing. I love the apex predator, man. That resonates with me. I'd go to a practice that was fucking apex.
Nice.
I'm not going to be like a barracuda or something that's like still a predator, but just not quite at the top of the list, or like an eel.
The crocodile soft tissue or something.
I want to be the top. Yeah, crocodile. Fuck that. Crocodiles are probably apex in their habitat, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're bad news. Yeah.
Is it? Humans are so weird where we would fucking travel 8 hours, sit in a boat, get into a fucking cage to look at a shark, and then be so moved by seeing a shark to name a business after it. Like, I love it, but it's just like, or even in my case, like the human condition is so fucked up. Like, I named my entire business out of spite. You named your entire business because you saw an animal. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Look, I can't remember what the other names were that we were sort of throwing around, but they can't have been very good.
This probably tells us everything we need to know about each other.
Yeah, look, actually, one interesting soundbite from that trip was that we went on a boat that they actually used music to attract in the sharks. So they were, they were. What did they call it? It was they felt that it was more of an ethical way to sort of stimulate the shark activity, because typically they would throw chum, so it'd be like fish guts and shit. So these guys actually had underwater speakers, and they used to play like AC/DC and
that's what they would go. That's so Australian. That's the most Australian thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, apparently the sharks loved it.
You're playing Back in Black and fucking sharks are swimming up to your cage. That's amazing.
So like, it was cool because I support the idea of a sustainable environment where the animals are just left to do their thing, and that's cool. But at the same time, we just wanted to see these fuckers jumping out of the water and getting crazy. And there was another tour that was doing that with the fish guts, and we kind of regretted not going with that one. But
not going with the fish guts one.
Yeah.
But you got to see sharks rage to some 70s and 80s rock, so it's pretty good too, right?
Yeah, and I lay on the floor of the boat for 7 hours, feeling sick as a dog. So it was,
Singing Back in Black or Thunderstruck.
Oh, I love AC/DC. So yeah, that
You
helped
have
the
to.
seasickness.
You
Yeah,
have to. When you're bored in Australia, I heard what they do is they put little headphones on your ears with a little Walkman with AC/DC's greatest hits.
yeah.
And if you don't,
I haven't seen a Walkman for a while, but yeah.
and if you don't, they ship you off to New Zealand, right?
Yeah, it's not that
They're
far.
like, all right, you're out of here. You're going to that island over there. You're fucked. You're not a good Australian.
Yeah, we love AC/DC. Yeah, I don't know if we'll see them again, but yeah, I was lucky enough to see them live probably about 10 years ago. It was awesome. Yeah.
Man, what was cooler, AC/DC or a shark?
Oh, look, I'd take the AC/DC concert all day because
That's
I
what I figured.
wasn't sick there. So
What if there was no motion sickness, right? Let's get real hypothetical here. And you just like dropped into a tank. Like you could drive up to an aquarium or whatever, and this shark was just captured for 5 minutes and put in this tank so that you could be in there. Then it would be released. So no ethical concerns, nothing like that. All right, this is what the listeners really want to hear. Fuck soft tissue and entrepreneurial shit. What's better, a full concert of AC/DC or in a vacuum being right next to a shark, like in the water with it?
I got to get some Back in Black all day. Because I'll tell you why. Because when I did go to see them, the one song that I really, really wanted to hear is called "Whole Lot of Rosie." It's about a large lady, and they usually blow up a big doll in the background. It's just a great song. It's one of my favorites. So I'd sort of been waiting for this song to play, and I was there with my mate Jeff. Shout out to Jeff and Dave. And
what's up, Jeff and Dave? We
needed beers, right? It had gotten to that time, which was probably only about every half an hour, but we needed
Foster's.
beers.
Foster's. Ooh. I'm gonna get real stereotypical.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was probably just light beer in a plastic cup at that stage. But so anyway, I made the call. I said they haven't played it yet, but we need some beers, so I'm going to go. And I took off, and as I was lined up, I heard the fucking song playing. So I missed it. So
you should have. I would have bailed on the beers, man. I would have bailed on the beers, 100%.
Yeah,
to see that.
I was committed. You don't want to lose your place in the line.
So you're more committed to booze than you were to the one song that you wanted to see. Fuck, man.
Had to make the call at the time.
We all have to make decisions and live with them.
That's it.
All right, that seems like a good place to wrap this up. Oh goodness! Anything else? Any final closing thoughts?
No, I don't think so. This has been it's been good actually to recap a little bit of this stuff, because it's not something that I've talked about for quite a while, or at least in this format. So yeah, it's nice to kind of bring some of that out and think about those reasons again for doing that stuff and making those decisions. And I think the responsibilities associated with that, it's a nice reminder just to have there rolling around in the ball dome. So yeah, it's been good.
Front of the mind. I don't have anything. I probably said too much today.
All right. Well, let's call it. Episode 11's in the books, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.